Thank you, Casey, and thank you very much for everyone who joined us today. It has been said better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. In modern times, few people have such stark choices, but coming from North Korea, I can relate to the choice. My name is Seohyun Lee. I'm a North Korean defector who gave up the opportunity to rule in hell and instead left my country for freedom and human rights. I'm not the only North Korean who face this kind of dilemma. North Korea is a poor country, but people who reside in the capital live pretty well. Those of us who live there are said to live in Pyongyang, a combination of Pyongyang and Manhattan. When Pyongyang people learn about the outside world, we began to face a moral dilemma. Should I continue to live as part of the elite in this country, or take a chance to live in freedom? Many of you who have seen the photos or videos of North Korean defectors crying hard for the dictators might think that North Korean elite support the Kim dictatorship. But that's not true. Today, I'd like to share with you the reality. One, most of us ruling in North Korea's hell have lost trust and hope in the regime. Two, address the challenges that North Korean elite face and conclude by making it clear that it is the dictator, not Pyongyang people or other North Koreans, who are ruling in hell. I will never forget the day my brainwashing ended. My great anti-brainwashing hero was Chinese taxi driver. Governments and organizations around the world probably spend millions of dollars to counter North Korea's propaganda. But it was a Chinese taxi driver who opened my mind. I was a student in China between 2010 to 2014. One day I took a taxi and was asked by the middle-aged taxi driver, "Where are you from?" In response to my answer that from North Korea, he pointed to a picture of Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping hanging on the back mirror of the car and told me how due to Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms, China was able to enjoy freedom and an improved standard of living today. Then he asked me why North Korea and the leadership didn't also open its borders and engage in economic reform rather than leaving its people in starvation. I was speechless. It was not because I was not allowed to criticize or question about the Kim leadership, but it was because I really had no idea what to say. With a great love and support from a wonderful family, I was born and raised as Pyongyang. I can say I had the best education that North Korea could offer and lived a comfortable life compared to other North Koreans. However, after comparing my life to Chinese people, I realized that I had been living the best life that North Korea could offer, but that it was nothing for others to envy. I was shocked and I realized three important things. First, people in China were enjoying a better quality of life. Unlike dark North Korea, China's streets and houses were bright with lights, and most places I went in China had hot water, air conditioning, and heat. In Pyongyang, I used to walk for more than an hour from school to home and vice versa because there was no transportation available. Ironically, in China, people walk for an hour to exercise or stay in shape. But most importantly, they had freedom. They had freedom to travel domestically and internationally, to wear clothes they wanted, and to watch dramas and movies without worrying about being punished. Besides these two important facts, there is one fact that shocked me. It was about the information of North Koreans who are outside of Pyongyang. When I was in North Korea, I didn't know that so many people were suffering from starvation in other parts of North Korea, and that many women were trafficked at border areas. You may wonder how I and other Pyongyang people were unaware of North Korea's domestic situation. The main reason, the camp regime not only blocks the information from outside of the country, but also blocks and filters any negative information from being spread domestically. Therefore, the more I got to know about the reality of North Korea and the truth of leadership, the more I was shocked and felt great sorrow about the suffering of North Koreans. That conversation ended my brainwashing, got me to thinking and analyzing the fundamental reason why North Koreans had to live under such oppression and die from starvation and cruel executions. Give me one moment, please. And the final answer was very clear. It was because of one person. Because of that one person, most of 25 million North Koreans are suffering. And that includes both elite and non-elites. My brainwashing had come to an end, and same thing happens to other Pyongyang people who learn about the reality of North Korea. So that leads to my second point. After I defected North Korea, there was a question that I was asked very often. Why hasn't there been a revolution in North Korea? Some people assume that it is because North Korean elite support Kim Jong-un. But I want to tell you that was a huge misconception. There are two main reasons. One, government control. Two, guilt by association. I want to say everyone would have joined forces against Kim dictator if there was even a sliver of freedom in North Korea. Both the general public and elites have lost their faith and hope in the regime because of Kim Jong-un's incompetence and cruelty. Speaking out or challenging the regime is not as easy as some might think. And it is not just a matter of risking your own life. Pyongyang people can be the wealthiest people in North Korea, but they may also be the most monitored people around the world. No matter where you are, at their organizations, at work, at home, they are being monitored and they know it. Every word and move is monitored, even if they cried hard for the dictators. It is very normal for Pyongyang people have their homes and phones tapped. I remember my mom and I whispering into each other's ears talking about Kim Jong-il having many wives. It's been 6 years since I left North Korea with my family, but my mom, she still sometimes unconsciously whispers directly into my ears. And every time I remind her, Mom, we are not in North Korea anymore. The second reason there hasn't been a revolution in North Korea guilt by association. Your parents, spouse, children, and even grandchildren, any and all of them could be sent to a political prison camp or executed because of your actions or words. Kim Jong-un has been brutal. The frequency has dramatically increased, and the mode of execution has been even more barbaric. He rules the country by fear. He even ordered the use of anti-aircraft guns, which used for the shooting down airplanes to kill people, saying that there was no land for those people to be buried. People were destroyed, blown up, with no skin or body parts remaining. He also had their families, friends, and colleagues to watch those horrifying murder scenes. Countless my friends and neighbors were among those people who are imprisoned and executed cruelly. With my own eyes, I saw my best friend dragged away. I was heartbroken and became furious. I also very worried about my future because I could see that the leader was hopeless. He was not only incompetent and irresponsible, but he was inhumane. I couldn't stop thinking how long this operation would continue. How long could we continue to ignore what is going on? Manhattan people reached the point of making decisions once they realized what is going on in this country. I decided we cannot pass this tragedy to our next generation. We cannot allow the dictator to exploit our talent and labor. Thus, my family and I decided to leave North Korea, giving up everything. Living as part of elite in that hell wasn't worth it. North Korea brainwashes us with propaganda and lies, tries to scare us about the outside unknown world, and makes it so difficult to escape. And it puts final barrier in our brains, and that is guilt. Once we learn how brutal the regime is, we realize that what can happen to those left behind in North Korea. And it is the another moral dilemmas. The cruel regime forces on us with its guilty by association strategy of punishing entire families for the actions of one person. North Korean elite, they don't remain silent because they support the Kim dictator. The main reason North Korean people remain silent because of the surveillance state and guilt by association strategy. I want to say most of the elite in North Korea are also slaves and victims of Kim regime. Of course, there are certain people who deserve to be punished along with Kim Jong-un, but the major Pyongyang people are good people. When they learn about the outside world, they start to face a moral dilemma forced by the regime. The lack of revolution in North Korea doesn't mean that the North Korean elite support the Kim Jong-un and the nation's poverty. Some remain silent because they are still remain brainwashed and never get the chance to ask by a Chinese taxi driver. And others remain silent for the sake of their entire families. Pyongyang people who live well compared to other North Koreans may seem to be ruled in hell, but the truth is different. Once we learn about the outside world, we start to learn that we are serving in hell. And it is not the Pyongyangans to rule in hell, and it is the dictator who want to rule in hell and make North Korea a hell for everyone else who is there. I want to emphasize that everyone in North Korea, both elite and general public, desire to live in freedom with their human rights respected. And I hope we can all come together to make that happen. Thank you.